For some people, the outdoors is a hobby. For others, it's a lifestyle. Torque wheels are built for the ones who chase sunrise on the water, track game through the timber, and spend weekends towing boats, campers, and ATVs to the next adventure. With a full lineup of wheel sizes and fitments for trucks, SUVs, vans, trailers, and RVs, Torque wheels are made to match your lifestyle and your rig. Wherever you go, whatever you haul, go with confidence. Visit torquewheels.com to find a retailer near you.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With fishingbooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. Fishingbooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to fishingbooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
All right, so we're going to talk about drones and basically how you could defend against drones. We're going to talk a little bit about like your predators and your crazy. Obviously, you know, a Hellfire missile, that's kind of a bit
hard to defend against.
Yeah. And, you know, they're a little bit high up in the air where you're not even, know what's going on. But anyway, we're going to talk about the little ones that are a pain in the ass too. And we're going to talk about who's using them, why, and basically what you can do about it, right? Drones are kind of starting to be a more prevalent thing, right? ICE agents are using them, and that's always the big, they're going to get us. So, because Kevin's always on the run from ICE, like looking up and, you don't know. He used to work with the wrong crowd, and then it just escalated from there. So
it used to be called the Underground Railroad, but
is that what it was? The Underground Railroad? Underground is actually one of the keys that we're going to get into. It's kind of crazy. It turns out using tunnels has been a big thing since way back. So we're gonna dig into that. But who's using drones inside the US? And I got to say, like, one of the things, like a lot of the research I did came from the stuff going on over in Ukraine. There's a lot to be understood there. And
we're moving into the age of the drone wars. You know what I mean? It used to be like not really a thing. They used to use them for surveillance, and like you said, in Iraq, they used to use the Hellfire missiles and the Predator drones and the Reapers to track people down and blow them up. But it's changing.
It's changing and it's evolving. And now, you have your local law enforcement using it. You have companies using it to protect their property. So let's a little bit of that. So who's using it, right? The Department of Defense is using it for inside the US. All these in this immediate discussion here is base security, training, reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, target observation. What targets are there inside the U.S.? That must just be on a base is what we'll say. Damage assessments, and then, of course, they use it overseas. Now, what are the military drones? We're talking day and night cameras, thermal imaging, high-powered zoom, laser rangefinders, long endurance, meaning they can go, a long time, encrypted communications, but also encrypted, signals to keep it going, right? Larger military drones can stay airborne for many hours, even longer than a day. So there you go there. All right. Customs and Border Patrol. You don't think about them, but they're out there using it. Border surveillance, drug interdiction, search and rescue, right? Oh, you wanted to expand?
Well, I'm just saying that, it would seem pretty obvious to me that using drones over the border, would make sense. You know what I mean? If you're trying to see people coming in or even going, I guess, you want to keep track of who's who, right? You want to know where they're at and where they're crossing.
Kevin, the government needs to know who and where everybody is at all times, because how else would we be safe?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How else?
And, and then drug interdiction you know that they could be looking for like the guy with the fat blunt, and they got the thermal, and they're like, oh yeah, there you go, they puffing it up, and they can tell.
I used to know a guy. He was my. I used to know a guy that got arrested. He said he was the only person that ever got arrested for smuggling drugs into Mexico. And I asked him how that happened, and he said, "Well, he goes, we were talking about burying it in the desert and then coming back." And he's like, "No, we're fine." And he said they got through the border just fine, but when they came back, they're all drunk and shit, and so they pulled him over. And they're like, "No, honestly, we had the drugs with us when we went in."
Nice, but that's classy.
That's how it goes.
Yep. All right. So again, with Border Patrol, you still have the long endurance, you have the infrared, you have radar, actually live video to the command center, that kind of stuff. FBI using drones during investigations. So that van that could be parked outside of my house all the time, they could be working a drone. But I mean, they don't even have to be there, right? It can be the guy in Utah in a container. I don't know.
Right. No, it doesn't have to be
Vegas.
The range is huge
Nevada
now. Yeah.
Okay.
It used to be like if you were going to operate a drone, you had to be kind of where the drone was.
Yeah.
But, that's not really the case anymore. You can even do it overseas.
But it's actually very common with like SWAT teams or any of these like enforcement things to do like surveillance over an area. Right. They'll set something up as they're going in. Again, these are like bigger operations. That was always like, remember, I can't even remember the name of the book now, but the Encyclopedia of whatever, that prepper book from, what's the guy's name? Of bad things. I'll have
Ragnar? Was it
Ragnar? Yeah, Benson. Yeah, that guy. The Ragnar Benson books. He used to talk about like helicopters and stuff. And he'd be like, look, if they're coming after you with a helicopter, you have to be such a high priority because these things are so expensive, right? At the time, $250,000 was a cheap helicopter.
Right.
And and that was something with no weapons, no anything. And now you look at drones and how easy it is to retask something and move it into an area. Surveillance has totally taken a new turn. And that's something.
And $200,000 versus $200 now, for that sort of tech.
Well, and the ability to retask it and use it is so easy. And so, they can just move things in for like nothing. Now, hopefully we don't have to worry about predators and reapers and things like that, but I gotta say,
they are up there.
They're up there.
Department of Homeland Security operates unmanned aircraft systems for border security surveillance, disaster response, alongside a massive expansion of counter-drone technology to disable unauthorized aircraft over sensitive sites, borders, and major events. So like when the president was having his UFC fight at the White House, they were all set up for anti-drone tech out there.
Okay. That's the thing. Like they could shut you down with your drones. No problem. Now you shutting down like a predator or something. I don't have the trick for that. I don't know who telling you what, but I'm not that guy. Right? That sounds way beyond the capability, but I do have some tricks that might actually help you avoid and evade. There are a lot of things they were doing over in Iraq and stuff like that. You're thinking, with modern drones and stuff, how did, all these guys avoid, getting ended, I guess. And it happened quite a bit, though. I got to say that we did end quite a few bad guys over there. So it does happen. I guess the big thing is if you're wearing the, what is it? The cloth stuff that covers your gate and you have your face and your head covered, then, it's hard to pick out which guy's which, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Kevin, do they all look the same? Isn't that what ignorant white people say? They all look the same. You can't tell.
But they do.
You're a horrible person.
I mean, even like, bro, even like the facial recognition software confuses like black people all the time. Like it's always like being like, oh, there's a black person. That's the one we're after. And then they just arrest some like random mom taking her kid to the Walmart.
Same person, you don't know. Mm-hmm. And then you see that like the prison photos of the guy. The guy's got like a 4-inch scar across his face. And whatever.
Oh, we shot him. Turns out he was already in prison.
Yeah, and then you see the mom who, is like, totally different. And no, that's how it goes, right? That's always the answer. But that's like we just did that episode on flock cameras, and it was 30% of license plate reads that they say, oh, this is a stolen vehicle, were just, were accidental, incorrect, diagnosis. But let's keep moving. So we got FBI, fugitive searches, everything prior to search warrants, all that crap. DEA, drug trafficking, surveillance, remote areas, intelligence collection. ATF, fire investigations, kind of weird, but explosive scenes, crime scene mapping, U.S. Marshals, fugitive service searches, tactical surveillance, high-risk warrants, national parks, wildfires, search and rescue, wildlife surveys. There are basically drones everywhere, right? FEMA, Forestry Service, Coast Guard, state and local police. So you got SWAT, traffic crashes, missing people, crime scene, common sensors. So almost everything has high resolution daylight, and they have thermal for nighttime. Optical zoom cameras 20 to 40 times. That's pretty impressive. GPS navigation, encrypted video transmission, and what autonomous waypoint navigation, right? Now, waypoint navigation is a big thing, being able to set different ways that it's going to go. It adds to that whole unpredictability. It used to be a big thing with missiles back in the day. You could add to the unpredictability, so keep that in mind. Obstacle avoidance, obviously, mapping, you get the idea. Now, the thing I looked up was like, oh, they can't see through walls. But did I not just mention thermal? And what do you know, Kevin? And I don't have details. I've been meaning to dig into this. But how they say they can map your house with Wi-Fi. Have you seen this?
Yeah. So that's super creepy. But yeah, they can basically bounce the Wi-Fi, use it kind of like a radar.
Yeah, that's what I've seen. Now, I don't know how and who has the capability for this kind of thing, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't know. That's kind of creepy to me. But also, I would feel like if every person in your house has a phone in their hand or a phone in their butt, if not in their hand, then could you not be like, oh, that's Jim right there. That's Billy Bob over there.
Yep.
And, does that not make sense? I feel like it does. I feel like that's.
Yeah. And they say that using the GPS trackers, they can only do it within like 3 feet of where the actual location is. And they say that so people don't use them for like remote bombs and stuff. But that doesn't make any damn sense. If you're going to set off a bomb, why is it 3 feet off? It's going to throw everything out. It's not going to work now. But I don't even think that that's accurate anymore. I don't think.
Yeah, I feel like we're way past that. Right. Yeah, exactly. All right. So how do we prevent against these bad things from happening, Kevin? That's really what it comes down to. Yeah. That is the hype that I sold this episode on. So there's a lot of things going on. And the big thing is like, what are like the big thing is they have thermal, right? I mean, that's always the scariest thing. Thermal makes you like a dominant force. So what can thermal things see? They can see people, they can see vehicles, they can see generators, wood stoves, recently driven cars, the engine, you can tell, right?
It's still warm.
I have the thermal cameras and, for my, for hunting and, obviously you don't want anything to get away, right? And I had to say, it's pretty amazing. You can have a field with some brush and debris, and I can scan the tree line with my thermal scope, and we'll say, a football field. I can look at the tree line and see any animals that are right near the edge. Now, obviously, if they're behind a tree completely, I might not be able to see them. But anything in line of sight. Whereas in the daytime with full sunshine, I can't pick out every little squirrel and whatever, but I can with the thermal. And that's pretty crazy. So these people have the same advantage. And if you haven't played around with thermal, I got to say, you're really, a lot of people don't understand the capabilities and how impressive it is. That's why now, like the thing I'm looking at says, despite Hollywood myths, it can't see through walls. That is not exactly true. Now windows do slow down because obviously they're stopping the heat, a little bit. So you think, oh, you can just line it up to the window, but decent thermal can kind of see through walls. So it really depends. Like I said, you're not seeing through a tree. So my log house, we're probably pretty safe. But anyway, that's the issue there. Now another thing. So what if I'm outside? What if I have to move around? Well, one of the things with avoiding thermal is people are making like umbrellas with the thermal blanket, like the Mylar blanket kind of thing. Yeah. I bought ponchos. I have blankets like how you have the emergency like sleeping bag or whatever that's thermal to keep your body heat in. Well, and ponchos, more and more they're selling those with a camouflage pattern on the outside. But it turns out you can use like spray paint and make it camouflage. And on the outside and still be thermal, right? Yeah. And the thermal doesn't go away because you put paint on it. So that way you're making it so that somebody can't see it with their eye and you're not seeing it, with a thing. So that's something to think about. And so they're moving under the cover.
Yeah. Now, and also you can check with Arnold Schwarzenegger. He says if you just smear mud all over yourself, the predator can't use his heat vision to see you.
But it was pretty thick mud, Kevin.
Right.
It was like, like 1/4 inch thick. I mean, if you're hiding from a predator, you got to take it pretty seriously. But I think that to an extent worked out. You noticed as it dried out and whatever, he started to show, as it lost its resilience there. I thought it was pretty realistic, Kevin. I accepted it as full fact.
Okay. All right.
Just know that I was in on it. All right. Now we can learn. So think of all these wars in the past where they were making all those tunnel systems and like the Viet Cong during Vietnam and
Japanese during World War II.
Japanese were all about the tunnels. Turns out you can go back to that old school tech of hiding underground. Good luck with a drone finding you there. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the subways systems in Europe are designed specifically as bunkers so that you can go into the subways and, obviously it's going to protect you from drones spotting you, but it's also going to, they're blast resistant.
And that to expand on the subway theory, same thing, sewers. Now, could you fly a drone in the subway tunnels? Yeah, I would say you probably could. You're not going to fly a Predator or a Reaper in the subway tunnels.
Right. But don't you have to have line of sight for that? Like once you go around a turn, that's it,
I don't know.
A lot of those are radio operated, right?
Oh, good call. Yeah, I think the ground would block a lot of that. So that's a good one, Kevin. I did not consider that, but I think that's accurate. I think that follows. So one of the things we can learn from Al-Qaeda and all the crazy over in the world is they used to be big on like cloud cover, right? All their movements would happen on like the cloudy day. I don't know if they have cloudy days in the desert, but when they did, that was the day they moved. Yeah. Smoke is actually very effective. Makes the air thicker. You're slowing down thermal. Anti-drone netting. Turns out that's a thing. You can make tunnels without digging a hole. Right. By being undercover, right? They're probably not seeing through my metal roof. I don't know. I know that the blue paint isn't really a trick for drones. That's that's just for laser beams, right? And that's not. I had camo up. It turns out when they're not using thermal, right? But I feel like if they couldn't find you, they would switch to thermal. Like
I feel like they would just use thermal in general
all the time, right? So you could camo up to help the whole facial recognition and the, you know, whatever, that kind of stuff. It helps. There are more expensive protection options. And that's one of the things that kind of sent me down this rabbit hole was they were talking about jammers and acquiring signals of stuff. All that stuff is very capable. It is able to be used by your average person, but the problem is your budget usually will not allow it.
Right.
The big thing, like you need a big like spectrum analyzer, usually something like 10 grand to find out what signals are going on everywhere. If you really want to see what's going on. Right. But there are options. I mean, I had to say, people sell used equipment when factories shut down and stuff like that. You can buy some stuff on the cheap sometimes. I bet you there's probably like some government surplus websites, you know, that we can go to.
Yeah, I know that there's always, I mean, technology is moving so fast now that like you can buy, one generation down from what the military is using relatively cheap now. And a lot of that stuff is, relatively cheap is, relative, obviously. But a lot of this stuff is, it used to be science fiction, that you thought, didn't possibly exist. And now it's, now it's at Walmart,
Absolutely. I mean, you go on that Temu website. I mean, you're buying like flying vehicles and drones that carry people, whatever you want to do. I don't know how those videos work out. I never have the stamp
hovercraft that you order out of the back of a comic book.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what it is. Like Temu is like the back of the comic book pages where you used to get, you buy the little space monkeys or whatever they are, and and now it's
the
like
X-ray
Temu.
Specs.
And the X-ray specs, exactly. And you can see the girl with her clothes off with the little glasses. Like, oh, I see it. I see what is going on under there. And exactly, that's Temu it today. I feel like you could do a whole show on that. But next thing would be like, so you could get like a spectrum analyzer, then some kind of high amp transmitter that could, basically override the signal. Good luck with that. I actually watched a video of a guy who cut up a microwave oven and he made a like focused microwave, which again would be like illegal to just use out in public and whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if you were in a war, if we were invaded by the Japanese, right? Because they, Pearl Harbor and everything.
It happened once before.
Anything could happen. So they make a microwave and they basically make a focused antenna. It's basically a metal box, like a waveguide, I guess is really the word I'm looking for. A waveguide, and they direct the antenna on a microwave. Anyway, I actually put a link in the description of a guy who shows you how to do it and how he does it and how they're dropping drones with a microwave. It's kind of cool. It's kind of a focused weapon. It's like you're from the future, Kevin. But like you said, things become a price where, something that would be crazy technology years ago is now pretty affordable and easy. Like the guy's like, oh, I went to the garbage dump and I found 3 microwaves that were filthy and nasty. And turns out all of them still worked. And he just, or you can find if the interior of a microwave gets scratched and you run it, it sparks and gets crazy. People throw those microwaves out.
Yeah.
And you could go, it's all still working. It's just the paint was scratched. And you can buy microwave paint and actually touch that up and fix that, but people don't know it. Comes out in like the little bottle, like white out, and you just it's like
but it used to be microwaves used to be like a huge cost, and now like whatever, dude. It's
it's like I know people would call me to come fix their microwave, and I'd be like, really? And
it's gonna cost me $100 to come out there.
I charged to just come to your house, and you paid for the microwave. When I show up and it's like a countertop microwave, I'm like, really? What? Come on. But all right. Anyway, and then they're mad at you. $180 to fix. I'm like, I told you it was $100 to come out, and you.
Yeah.
What were you thinking? But yeah. Anyway, but it's just no. So one of the things. So you could do that. There is the microwave technology. You can check that out. Like I said, I put a link in the description. So you guys, if you want a deep dive, I wasn't going to get all nerd techie on you. And, but I watched it. I was like, oh, I'm going to do that. I'm going to set that up in the backyard. I have it like mounted on my barn. So I'm ready to,
ready to fire any second.
I'll keep it under a blanket. So I can just whip the blanket off. Like, when you pull out the cannons from World War II,
right.
Well, surprise, motherfucker. And, that's how it'd go. But, so another thing, you could have decoys, right? You could have things giving off a heat signature, right? Like I know when I sight in my thermal scope, I use those hand warmers and I set those up. So you could actually set things up that it would see little heat sources. Turns out you could like build a fire. Might attract something. Who knows?
There you go.
Maybe you leave the stove on. Oh, but they'll be like, that's in the kitchen. I think I know what's going on. I don't know. But you have options, right? Having comms discipline. Turns out using frequencies and maybe take the cell phone out of your butt. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe
that's the thing. You can leave that in a different room. You'll still hear it ring, I promise.
They'll think you're in there. They'll be like, oh, Kevin's at the couch. I see his phone. There's no way he would go somewhere without his phone. So, all right. Next would be unpredictable. Remember old school? You used to watch like the CIA stuff and they would be like, don't take the same route to work every day. Don't leave at the same time. Turns out that shit still applies today.
Still a thing.
That's a thing. Like it's all these, that's what I'm noticing. Like this whole episode is all your old school shit still works. Right? It's just we've forgotten the lost ways. The lost ways are setting up tunnels, changing your routines, having ComSec. Turns out all those same things that were a big deal back in the day are the same things that can help you today.
Right.
So now you're like, Chuck, microwaves are cool, but that's a little future techie for me. I'm probably not that guy. I'm more of a shotgun kind of guy.
Right.
Well, let's talk. So there are, and I've mentioned it before, there are those Skynet shotgun rounds. So you can buy a 3-pack. I searched them out and you could buy them. They were $100 for 5, which is crazy on some site for the branded Skynet drone defense ones. And then I went to, I found Bud K. They got a 3-pack for $29. And I think there was 24 left in stock when I looked. So maybe by the end of the episode, there won't be any left. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a feeling that those would be like hit and miss. You know what I mean? As far as like actually deploying properly.
I watched a couple videos on that and they were talking about the drone defense. Again, you're not shooting down a Predator or a Reaper. Right. So, but it turns out, so they have Skynet had a 300-foot range on them. And they're $29 at Bud K. They said it usually took 3 or 4 to be able to get one, like to actually hit it was the thing.
Right.
Like, for the distance that most of these were at. And then I saw, you remember, I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but I bought one of those cannons. So you can use blanks and then you hook up to your AR-15 lower. You can put this thing that'll launch soda cans or beer cans or whatever, in case you want to shoot beers to all your buddies at the different.
Right.
Who doesn't want to do? And I was like, I need one of those.
Yeah.
It was funny. My buddy.
I know when I'm out drinking with friends in the backyard and somebody brings an AR-15 out and points it at me, I know beer's coming.
You're like, it's beer 30. And you're like out there running around trying to catch. Yeah.
Well, my friend shoots at me with a rifle in the backyard. I love it. That sounds
Kevin,
like
entertainment
could possibly go wrong.
This is all, we're not lawyers. This is not legal advice.
I actually was doing a little bit of research on the Russians, what they're using for the small drones.
And it is the beer cannon?
They hooked up to their rocket launcher. They had this insert where they can put a shotgun shell with birdshot in the rocket launcher, and it'll fire birdshot at these drones. So what they did was they invented this new tech that's like a one-shot shitty shotgun. So they invented a worse shotgun for their defense.
So I kept looking. I kept digging deep. I was like, there's got to be a way I can make something with the cannon and shoot this down. And I was like, so I started searching it out. As somebody already done it? Turns out you can buy it on eBay for $46.
Ooh, so look at that.
Basically, it's got a plate on the bottom that's basically the width of a cannon. It's got a disc that you drop in the bottom. That's what's going to take all that pressure from shooting a blank, all that air pressure. Right. Then it launches. It's basically 4 plastic bars that are tied to a net that are going to be the weight that spreads out. And then the net happens, and then the net ends up catching it. And basically, so that's not as impressive.
That seems like you'd have to be within 15 feet of that thing to actually.
They said it worked good, but exactly. That thing's got to be right at you. They said you'd get a range of about 115 feet. Because I watched videos. They were testing all these, right? Mm-hmm. They said 115 feet, you could probably pull that off. But the cool thing with that is it's reusable. You just need blanks. And I know when I bought blanks last time, I bought 1,000 blanks for an AR-15. So I could go out there and be like, whatever. I put it in full auto with blanks, and it's amazing times. But
sounds like fun.
Anyway, it was like $300. You buy 1,000 rounds. So you can shoot this thing over and over again and repack it. That's the upside. But I imagine if the little propellers chop up your net, I don't know. I feel like they'd just get caught. You could break it apart. Anyway, that's something good. Now, another thing that I didn't consider at first, and then I started thinking back to the Navy. We had Sea Whiz and how awesome that was. Mm-hmm. Kevin, why do we not all have a Gatling gun?
Yes, that is a good question. Yeah,
exactly. And they make Gatling guns for 22 round, so inexpensive to fire. And I feel like if you're peppering a drone with 22 rounds, and really, do you miss when you're using a Gatling gun?
Right. It's hard to miss.
It's hard to miss. So I'm just saying there are options out there. Now, the next thing I feel I have to say, and I should have put a disclaimer on here for the YouTube, but it is illegal to shoot down aircraft in the US. And it turns out drones count as aircraft. So it is a crime.
Yeah, and most of what we've talked about so far is really just going after your neighbor's drones. This isn't really. This is the kid down the street keeps spying on your wife sunbathing in the backyard, and you're sick of his shit.
Well, when I mentioned that you would be able to avoid predators and reapers and things, when I mentioned this, I was talking about the tunnel systems, the netting, things like that, right? Not being obvious, changing your routine, the umbrellas, the ponchos, the blankets. These are the things that are going to help you with the big guys, right? Mm-hmm. The little ones, as far as the defense, maybe the Gatling gun. If you bought something in 30-30, you might be able to. The thing is, you're still not getting the height, right? For a Reaper or something. You're just not getting there.
No. Some of those are 2 miles, above, up. So
now maybe a good set of binoculars for little ones, actually having a watch and a lookout. Turns out all this stuff goes back to old school, Mm-hmm. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of the cameras that they sell now have AI assisted searching, and you could have it look for drones. That's something to think about. But anyway, it is illegal to shoot down anything. It is illegal to jam things. It is probably illegal to use some kind of microwave weapon to attack things.
Yeah, it's probably not against. It's not a.
But Kevin, again, this is all talking about when the invasion. Do they have to
make a law about everything?
Right?
You know what I mean?
It's when the invasion happens,
right?
And that's what I'm talking about.
Right. So, I remember Dr. Chaos. Remember him? He was
Dr. Chaos. Yeah.
He was a
Subway right?
Yeah, he was a hacker in the early days of the internet, and they went after him, and he just disappeared into the undergrounds in Chicago, like all the old tunnels and shit, and he built a microwave gun.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you, Kevin? I mean, that's really what you need to ask. Although there is some weight. I don't know if you've moved around microwaves, but they're not the lightest thing.
Yeah, it wasn't something he carried around with him. He did carry a vial of cyanide just in case he ever got captured, but then he got captured and he didn't take it.
Yeah, Kevin, sometimes you're like, prison, I get to work out and watch TV.
I mean, he's straight out. He's just out there doing whatever the fuck he wants to. They arrested him and they let him out, and now he's just out there in the wind.
Kevin, keeping people in jail is expensive. And let's just let him back out.
I mean, he's a supervillain. It's the same thing. That's why Batman's always in business. The Joker, Riddler, everybody just keeps getting out. So
you just need a good lawyer, Kevin, and you can always steal more money for the lawyer. So
yeah, it's probation. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So we do not support crimes. We do not encourage bad behavior. We're just saying there are things you can do. And if you're really worried about your government or more, larger groups coming after you, and you think that you wouldn't be able to stand up, you should really look into the Ukraine war, because there's a lot of things going on over there that you'd be amazed.
Really cheap. Really cheap stuff in there.
Turns out, it's bringing innovation, right?
Yeah.
Wars bring good things. So I'm sure that's what people always say in the history books, that wars are a good time.
Wars are always good.
All right. So with that, I'd say we appreciate you guys sticking around. You're awesome. With that, stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys next week.